Welcome to Little Victories, the self-help comedy podcast that proves success isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Hosted by fast-talking firecracker Richie DeFrisco and the ever-sly Pat the Cat Murray with the Pat Facts. This is Little Victories.
Welcome back to the Little Victories podcast. Richie D here with Pat the Cat. Today we have a big guest. This story is incredible. It's an honor to have him. We're very grateful that he's here in our studio today. This is a very big deal for us. And I'm probably 99.9% positive that his story is going to have an influence on our audience in a very positive way. He's got a lot to share. I can't say enough.
You might know him from projects such as A Bronx Tale and The Sopranos, but he's a lot more than what you'd find on his IMDb page. So let us welcome Lillo Brancato.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you for having me here.
It's an honor.
Thank you, bro. It's an honor to be here.
You're relative after the up and down.
Yeah.
Your story is incredible.
Thank you.
You went from being the biggest star discovered on Orchard Beach,
Jones Beach.
Jones Beach,
Yeah.
to being the biggest star. And one thing I always want to ask, and I didn't have, now that, prior to you being discovered, you were young. How old?
15. I was 15 years old, going to be 16. It was right before I turned 16 years old, summer of 1992.
So people are very impressed. I've never heard not one, even like me, because I studied acting for years. I worked with coaches. I put a lot of energy, a lot of my life into that trying to be that person. I picked up so much from my coach, who I'm indebted to because he was phenomenal. You are fantastic in that role. Did you have prior acting experience?
No.
None?
No. It was a God-given natural ability to do it, and it was discovered that day. Because prior to that day, I had never even thought about doing anything along those lines. And then it was like, they were doing this movie, A Bronx Tale, and I heard about it. And, it was in the neighborhood. It was a local thing. It was like, my cousin went to Iona High School. They would talk. It was on the radio. They were like posters and things on telephone poles and the way they used to do it. Now you just blast it on social media. It's different. But back then, so it was out there. And I heard about this movie. And I heard that, people would say when I was younger that I looked like De Niro. So it was definitely something I thought about. But it wasn't real until that day that they found me on that beach. But then, they found me. I went in to read. Eventually, I met De Niro. And then shortly thereafter, I got the part,
Because you crushed the role. You are phenomenal. So it's a natural talent. You must have had no fear. And you just, what was it about you acting-wise where it's just like, it's almost like a fearlessness where you like, almost like a destiny kind of thing. Because you're that good in that role.
Yeah, no, I think that a lot of times I look back and I think maybe that God gave me that role of a lifetime, because that's really what it is. You narrate the film, you're the lead role. De Niro makes his directorial debut. He handpicks you to carry his legacy and his torch. But think about this also, though. There's a lot of responsibility that comes with that.
Right.
For a kid that's my age, 16 years old.
Did you feel prepared for any of that attention and recognition that you were getting, I guess, during production and afterwards?
No, because I don't know if there's anyone who could prepare you for stuff like that. Even great parents. No one, that's like uncharted territory. Nobody knows that, right? How rare of a situation is that?
It's true.
Right? That where I'm going to be able to help my kid navigate Hollywood. It's hard. You know what I mean? Especially my parents were immigrants. My adopted parents, they were immigrants. They barely, because coming to this country from another one, they're still learning about this country, let alone being able to help me navigate this career, which is like foreign territory for them.
Yeah.
So it was like, it's kind of like a recipe for disaster, especially the way I am. I have, like my personality, because I saw a psychiatrist when I was a kid. He said, literally, it was local when I was in Mount St. Michael in the Bronx. They said, if you want to stay in this school, you got to go see someone. So I seen this guy, literally, his name is Dr. Donald Lupiani. And I used to ride my bike to his house. That's why he was like, they gave me a list, and they was like, this guy's up the street. But he always told me, obviously I'm going to fast forward a little bit, but that acting career and all that and doing that obviously led to a fast life and growing up really fast and not being able to, your age not being able to catch up to the lifestyle that you're living. So you get left behind, and now you have lack of experience, but you're living the life of someone who's 10, 15 years older than you. As Chaz Palminteri put it, you're going to make monumentally bad choices because there's you know what I mean? I don't know anything about this. So how are you not going to make good choices? But then with the drugs and stuff like that, and that, because they give you this opportunity so fast, and then it's like, wow. So it's such a good feeling. Even you do other movies and stuff, but the Bronx Tale, like I said, it's a role of a lifetime. So it's hard to recreate that. Then you start doing drugs and stuff like that. And I went to go see that same shrink after the drugs because I used to see him back in the day. My mother said, why don't you go see him? And, because my brother, my mother, they attributed my drug use and stuff like that to being adopted and stuff. But I never thought that wasn't a problem. Like, I have good parents. I have everything that any adopted kid would wish to have. So why am I sad about this? This is a good thing. I wasn't left in some shit home with parents that beat me and fucking, you know what I mean? So now I go see this shrink, Donald Lupiani, and so we're talking, and I said, I'm using drugs, and it's become a little bit of an issue for me, and I was wondering if you had maybe some insight as to why, being that we've spoken many years ago, and you've seen the quiet before the storm, or whatever it is, and maybe maybe you could shed some light. And he said, no. He goes, I will say this, and this is why I knew this guy, he was onto something, and this is why I knew that he's good at what you're good, but he was good, because he always said to me, he goes, you know what? You would be good in the dramatic arts. He'd always said you would be a good actor, and he was right. Because one time he was shoveling a snow blizzard, and he said, I told you. I said, not Dr. Lupiani. But he said, I could see that happening with you. Mm-hmm. He said, you always had that need for speed, the personality. See, this is why I don't think drug addiction's a disease. It's the personality type. When you have an addictive personality, you gravitate toward things and you get addicted to looking at that light. But it happened to be the drugs and the alcohol. And the reason why the drugs and alcohol is not a disease is because when that addiction goes away, you get addicted to something else. Like right now, I'm working out. Like, my arms are big. And this is my primary addiction. I'm not going to go smoke crack because my arms are my addiction right now. And if I smoke crack, my arms are going to get smaller. So this addiction has taken precedence over the other one. So it's like, sometimes I think it's made harder for people when, like, the stuff that they say, and they make recovery harder. It's not simple, but it's not hard. It's like, it's very simple what you have to do, but then going to do it is not so simple, because it's like your life and way you feel about your life is going to dictate how easy or hard that choice becomes. It's always a choice.
And I would think that, from the perspective you have now, it's like there's no playbook for your particular story, right? A lot of people, I mean, we could all probably name, half a dozen people that are close to us that deal with either mental health issues or addiction or things like that. But when you talked about, seeking help in that regard, no one can really, I guess, and you look at other, child actors and things like that, right? It's a unique experience, and everyone has their struggles, right? It's just that yours are broadcasted.
Right.
So how does that kind of play into how you felt at the time and kind of where you're at now?
What do you mean, the fact that all of it was made public?
Yeah.
Well, I think it just made the situation a lot worse, because everyone knows about it. So it's like double the struggle, because you're struggling already just because of what it is. And then, like, all these people know, and then all these people are writing shit about you on the on Instagram and leaving all these comments and stuff that's not making you feel good about yourself. It's twice worse, because
So that was that was great. I want to come across there and hug you right now. I'm an addict, right? But the thing is what you just said is you just explained my addiction, which I've always explained to people. I just explain it a different way. By nature, as an addict, if you take something away from me, I need to replace it with something else. Historically, that's what I do. Okay, I can't drink anymore. I'm going to do something else.
Right.
I can't do that anymore. I'm going to do something else. So right now, my addiction is coffee. Unfortunately, I started smoking cigarettes again. I have to stop. But at the end of the day, it's bad. But I always have to replace it with something. I need this dependency on something. What I've historically done, I'm not justifying what I do, is try to find the lesser of the evil so I do less damage to myself.
Right, of course. That's the key. You know what I mean? I think sometimes the rooms, Narcotics Anonymous, it's too rigid. It's not because they have a certain set of rules, but it just doesn't work for everyone. Everybody's recovery is different. And you know what it is? There's a lag in your dopamine. Your dopamine processing system doesn't process dopamine as fast as someone who's normal, right? So you always have to, there's always something you need to reach out for to keep that dopamine being produced, some kind of excitement, whatever the addiction is. It could be, online gambling, and then that goes away, and then, you try to fight that, but then next thing you know, you're maxing out 20 credit cards doing online shopping. So then it went to that. But when it goes to the online shopping, you're not going to give a shit about the other one. And I've seen that happen. That's why I know it's not what you guys are saying. Stop telling people drug addiction is a disease. It's not. It's a part of your personality that manifested there. Because, I say this all the time, but you don't fight as hard if you know you got something that doesn't go away. Even though you're there doing it and going to meetings, you have to understand there's a whole subconscious mind, okay? And that mind is something we can't control. And maybe because of the notion that we think that it's a disease, maybe we won't fight as hard because there's no end game. There's no light at the end of the tunnel. I'm always going to be here with this disease, and I just got to keep it at bay. But I don't feel that's the way that people should live. It's just psychologically, it takes a lot away from, if you're thinking about that, you can't really have the life that you want because you're always thinking about that. And I understand your recovery is important and you have to stay sober or else you got nothing else. But I just think that the further your thoughts get away from that stuff, the better it is for you. Because now you'll start thinking about new things, and new thoughts will be built off of those thoughts. And then, you have so far removed yourself from that. Why do you want to keep talking about things that you want to get away from? You know what I'm saying? This is what I'm saying. This is always the way I think. And for me, it works. Another guy may say, hey, I got to go to 3 meetings a day for the last 20 years. If that's what it is, that's what it is.
Right. So... And I've seen some of your efforts in regard to counseling and addiction services and things like that. Do you take clients on yourself, or are you more just a friendly face, someone to talk with? Or because my question would then essentially be, how do you go about kind of guiding someone through that recovery process based on your own experiences, based on what you've learned, things like that?
Well, it depends. Everyone's, situation is unique and unique to them. So, I know a little bit about, from the book Smarts, because I do, work at a rehab, More Life Recovery in New Jersey. Recovery, yep. So I do a lot of, when we're doing groups and stuff, there's a certain curriculum that I have to follow and they want me to follow. So some of this stuff I don't know because it's the technical way, as opposed to telling somebody. So a lot of this stuff I learned, but it all depends on what needs to be applied. Maybe one of my real life experiences, that something happened in 2003 that I went through, and now I'm hearing what this person is saying. I'm like, all right, well, that sounds similar to what I went through, and this is what I did, and I got myself out of a lot of trouble. Hey, bro, you know what? Back in the day, I went through that. I remember I had a girlfriend and this and that, but listen, I know you're probably thinking do this, but don't, because then that's going to happen. So do that. It's going to be a little rough in the beginning, but then that's going to happen and you're going to be good. So it's all, but I look back, one of the biggest reasons, I love doing this and really want to help people is because my parents, like I said, they adopted me. They're old school Italians. You know what I'm saying? And they were helpless back then because they don't know about addiction, stuff like that. So I always thought to myself, even now looking back, damn, I wish my parents would have had somebody like me. And they were available, just go on Instagram and see this kid that they loved from this movie that they love, because people love that movie. So my influence is so strong because of it. It's a beloved film. It's one, how many people love that? It's their favorite film.
It is, it's great.
Oh, I love that movie, I love that movie. So when you talk to people, they listen. You get, that role was awesome. All the girls loved C. All the guys wanted to be like C. So you can influence both sides. You were that guy. You were that humble, good kid who didn't give a shit about color, nothing. He just had a good heart. So that transcends time. That character, that person transcends the 60s. That's a good guy forever, so they look at you as that, whether I'm C or not. But if that's what you look at me as, and I can be valuable to you to help you become a better version of yourself, then why not?
Right.
It would be like literally be a sin to not do that.
Because you have a voice, you have a
Yeah,
platform.
so why not use it the right way? That's why when I hear people influence, like, you know, like in even rapping and stuff like that, talking about all this negative stuff, it's like, yeah, you know, like when people say, oh yeah, but what about actors? You know, they play roles that are this or that. Yeah, but they're playing a role. That's a character. They're not playing themselves. A lot of times these rappers are saying, this is me. I'm real. This is what I do. And now he's your fan, and you got, you know, 8 million followers. You really have a strong influence. And I just think that, I don't know, but it is a form of expression. Then you know, get into a form of expression. It's art. But I just think there needs to be a fine line and a balance needs to be struck, because I think a lot of the stuff that's being put out there affects the way kids grow up and their mentality and the things that they think are important and not important. And it's, you know, this is what shapes the world and mankind.
That's a whole nother rabbit hole. Because people, it's so expensive to live nowadays. Now the wife has to go to work, not even an option anymore. And when you're working, I got to do overtime because to make sure everything's covered. So kids aren't even getting raised by their parents anymore. It's their friends, it's social media, it's everything else they see, because the parents don't legitimately have that time to sit there and spend to give the values that they want for their children. It's a complete separation. It's getting worse and worse and worse.
Yeah, something's got to give. It's bad. It's very expensive out there. But yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. But even without that, you know, parents are an influence in their kids' lives, but as soon as they start going to school, say, you know, they're a huge influence, 1, 2, 3, and then 4, they start going to pre-K, and then 5, they're in kindergarten. So little by little, pre-K is still like it's part-time. You're going a little bit, getting you ready. So your parents still have the influence, you know what I mean? And then kindergarten, now you're there full, you know, you're there every day. So as that time goes on and you're out there more, your parents become less of an influence. So you just want to hope to God that what you taught them in those few years, that you did have them to yourself, was enough and the right things for them to go out there and make the best at, you know, and become, like, once again, the best version of themselves. That's what it's all about. We all have the best version of ourselves or the good or the worst version of ourselves, right? What you got, a good wolf and a bad wolf. Which one gets bigger? The one that you feed. If you're doing all the right things, the good one. You know what I mean? But that's...
So you're on Little Victories, and in essence, you know, when we tell people, right, it's about progress, not perfection. It's about the journey, not the destination. And when we find ourselves talking to, you know, people of influence, people of substance that have a platform like yourself, really just what would you consider along the way? I mean, going from that high of everyone knows your name, everyone knows your face, to, as you spoke about, you know, addiction and recovery. You know, are there things that, you know, maybe people don't know that you would want them to in terms of just talking about that journey?
No, I mean, it was what it was. It's the outcome of bad decisions. You know, it really is. And when you're young, you don't think decisions are going to affect you as much as they do until you're older. Because you're young, you just think you're invincible. I guess just think before you act. It takes 1 second to do something so stupid to where you either get in trouble forever and for that 1 second of that or just something you're going to be dealing with. Be careful too. Now it's a lot, you know, like with the social media and stuff like that. A lot of kids have way more ways to get in trouble. There's just so much more pressure out there. Because, you know, like social media, this is all the highlights of people's lives. So obviously you're going to post all the nicest pictures, the best pictures. So, you know, you maybe get some kids who are maybe not as attractive as another kid. Okay, then it's like, you know, now they got to, you know what I mean? Like they get pressured. They feel pressured to be a certain way. You got kids out there starving themselves, becoming depressed. So it's just like, be careful. Just live your life, and who cares about any of that stuff? Not guarantee, but that's had to have added to addiction so much, just the pressure from living up to you know, social media standards and the benchmarks, right?
And then, you know, seeing what they do and again, like you said, all the highs, but none of the lows, right? None of the debt, none of the, failure. It's always just like, hey, look at me, I'm in Cancun,
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
a lot of people, in order to do that, they got to work a 9 to 5, right? They got to do these things.
You take forever to get to the point. Forever.
Come on now.
I love
Yeah,
him.
I'm in Cancun. Yeah, look at me. I'm in Cancun. And look, this credit card that I owe this money on. They're taking my house right now while I'm here taking this picture. But
so because and he had gotten somewhat to the point, but my biggest thing is that when I lost my mother a couple of years ago, a few years ago, the worst thing that happened to a human being, everybody, my audience has heard it, I don't know how countless times, and I'm indebted to this woman that there's no repayment. I'm lucky for, that kind of love. It taught me everything of who I really am all the way deep down inside. And as soon as she passed, we left Calvary, and I go home, and the first thing, from my lips to God's ears, the first thing I see that and I'm in bad shape, and I go into my dresser, and I found this thing because I'm not dirty, but I'm a little messy, and I never even seen this thing before. It's like a little, it looks like in a book, the book
Bookmark?
like a bookmark. It's like this, and it's got a whole saying on it, and I started reading it. I was a mess. That thing now, it comes with me. That's it. I'll keep that with me for the rest of my life. But it was really about one day at a time. And the fact it was like her trying to tell me, look, I'm not here no more, but I want you to read this. And I'm reading it, and obviously I'm forget it. And it just really goes down to the base of one day at a time. You've been up to the top of the mountain looking down. You've been all the way at the bottom looking up. Your story's incredible. Now, you're relative, and you're positive, and you're impactful. People are listening to you, and you're making a difference now. And I always reference this to all my guests. When it comes to the point where it's like, all right, we got to take this train and put it back in the tracks. But it's not like, it's a process, because it's not like, it just doesn't work that way. Life does not work that way. You don't get those biceps. Oh, I went to the gym. It just doesn't work that way. It's your road. This is your journey from now until this is Lillo now.
yeah.
What are some of the things now that you would tell people it's a daily thing?
Well, it's consistency. You know what I'm saying? This is if you're going to rely on either consistency or motivation, when you're consistent, right? Every day you're doing something. That's the thing. That's what I would say. Be consistent. Regardless if it's not happening right away. Just keep doing it. You know what I mean? Because some days you're not motivated, so you can't rely on that. But when you're consistent, it just happens. You remember that guy, the Dunkin' Donuts guy? Got to make the donuts. Time to make the donuts. Remember that guy? He was up doing it already because he was doing it every day. That he just gets up because he's so consistent. It just happens every day. But that's what you want to be like, that guy. Even if it's not happening, sometimes it takes 4 good days of shit happening to get that one day. So that's the thing. Just stay consistent.
Anything particular that you've done in your life since that helped build anything, like one specific thing that you might have done that on a consistent basis to get to you where you are now? Because you're
well, obviously, stayed sober.
The
on
biggest
a consistent,
one.
Yeah, that's everything. Because that's a form of your health. That's a form of your mental, right? Because if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. That's a form of your health. If you don't have that, that's what the key is. You know how many nights after being, sober for so many years, how many nights I'm out, at a party or this or that, and I think to myself, I could have a drink right now. I haven't drank since 2000. I haven't had. You know when the last time I had a drink? December 10th, 2005. I got over 20 years I haven't had a drink. So with that being said, you know how easy it is to say, dude, I'm not going to go back to that shit. I could have a drink.
It's a slippery slope.
That was always, I think, the worst one out of everything. I've been around.
What, the liquor?
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Yeah, because you're drinking and people don't know the problems you have, but they're not looking at you like anything's wrong because they don't know your history. But if you're sitting at the bar smoking crack, they're going to look at you like something's wrong. That's the problem. It's very socially acceptable. People don't realize that the detox from alcohol is the worst. It'll kill you. It's worse than heroin. It's on the same thing with benzos. You'll die. Like alcohol, your body will seize. Yeah. Not even heroin does that.
I feel like it's a bit of a sick joke. There's a beer called delirium tremens. And so the exact the sickness you get from it, they go ahead and they put that on the brand, and it's a socially acceptable vice until it's not, right?
I work in the emergency room. I just left work because I work on the graveyard shift, only on the weekends, and we get them all night long. And like, so I chat GPT. I approach life like I know nothing, just to be a sponge and just keep learning because I never know. I have ideas and I try to figure out, and I'll grow as even more throughout my life. But like, what's our water? You're the smart guy. What's the percentage of water that we are in our body?
It's like 70%.
Yeah, 60, 70%.
And like
Just like the Earth.
Thing, like there's also, and it's not true. Coffee does not dehydrate you, if I'm not mistaken, because I'm trying to learn
It's
about
a diuretic. It makes you
diuretic, but it's not doesn't necessarily dehydrate you. The one thing that right off the bat dehydrates your body, alcohol.
Yeah.
Sucks you dry.
Of course.
So like when they're in the emergency room, I see them, they're in bad shape.
Yeah, alcohol's
and a
bad.
lot of them are young.
Alcohol for me, like marijuana would make me think 5 times before I did something, which is not the end of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Alcohol would make me not even think once. I'll think after I do it. That's what happens with alcohol. It diminishes your capacity and you don't think about anything. You're impulsive, and everything that you've tried to stay away from doing, it happens. Because now your guard was up. Once you drink, it goes down. Alcohol is the root. Money's not the root of all evil. Alcohol is. Okay? Think about it. If females start drinking, they become promiscuous. So that's not the best version of themselves. That's evil. Say a guy's in recovery, hasn't sniffed cocaine in 13 years, goes, has a couple of drinks. He's going to go sniff cocaine. He's going to justify it in his mind that it's okay because you haven't done it in 12 years. It's November. It's Saturday. Just start again Monday. And then Monday, it's like, all right, just start December 1st. Then it's like, you know what? It's the end of the year. Then just start New Year's. And then before you know, you're never going to stop.
Right.
But it's the root of all evil. Like you could put, like if I drink and the cocaine's there, I'm going to do it. But you know what I mean? So it's just like, just stay away from all that. Get, like the working out. Like when you start seeing the results, I love it. I swear by it. Saved my life. Out here, in jail, everywhere.
I got 2 guests out here. I got we have a guest that was our first athlete. She's an athlete. She competes for powerlifting. She's a Mount Vernon barbell. This girl's the nicest person I ever met. The girl's incredible. Huge inspiration to female athletes. And then recently, before you, we have Josh Ortiz. That's the biggest trainer in there. And the man he's amazing. He's competed for strongman. Now we competed for sumo. We just put a clip with this lunatic getting thrown all over the place by him. The gym saved my life too, because it kept me. Because now it's like I go in the gym, I'm weaker, I feel like shit. It doesn't make sense. And when you're really adamant about that lifestyle, it's like, no, I have responsibility. That becomes your addiction, your good addiction. And the same thing for me. It's like, even though I've been there 2 months and I blame the hospital for that, but it's consistently saved my life. People are like, oh, the gym. That kind of gets annoying. It's like, yes, the gym, because without that, I'm a mess.
You know what? I got to say this. The gym it's stood the test of time. Okay? I've got relatives, when they were kids, I was kids, I was pretty smart in school, but they definitely prioritized education. I prioritized health and working out and stuff like that. Okay? And yeah, I got relatives that are successful, this and that, but they're not healthy. You're very successful at what you do at work, but you got apnea and sleep machines and stuff like that because you're not healthy. Okay? So I got to say that my health and the fact that I have prioritized it, I'm at 50 years old. I feel great. I could run a marathon right now. I can honestly say that I chose to prioritize the right thing because the way I feel at 50 years old, I feel that even if I had, all the money in the world, whatever, this, that, the other thing, but if I was sick, I just don't think at this point life would really be worth living.
You can't enjoy it.
But the fact that I'm fucking healthy, I don't care that I don't have some of the other things. Because the way I feel, I can go get those things. I can make it happen because I'm physically strong enough, my head, you know what I'm saying? I mean, mentally, sometimes I struggle, of course. Mentally, sometimes I struggle. You know what I mean?
You heard the saying. I love this one. This one I'm glad I found because I didn't make this up. You can have 1,000 problems until you got a health problem. And then you got one big problem.
Okay. That's the saying, or this. A normal man has 1,000 wishes. A sick man has only one.
It's true.
That's a good one.
You're working on every day your own recovery, and you're mentoring people that have either just started or they're somewhere along their journey, working with More Life and things like that. Anything else you're working on right now that you think people should know about?
Well, I wrote a film called Never Meet Your Heroes. It's with the girl from A Bronx Tale. It's about addiction. My character's a gambler. It's us back together, not the same characters of Bronx Tale. Right. It'll look like, but it's about addiction. It's really, I'm putting that together now. The script's out there. I'm working with, a friend who's also worked with Chris Brown, some good people. I didn't want to mention his name. Until the right time.
Of course. But you let us know.
Yeah. No, but he's a great guy. He's been very helpful, and we're. I'll leave it alone for now. I don't want to say that much, but that's what I'm doing. And like, as far as acting, to be playing a lot of these tough guy roles, it just doesn't do it for me anymore. Gotcha. I'd rather not do anything. I'd rather not do anything for 2 years than play these roles that are the same thing over and over.
What roles do you see for me to show that I have range? Because I've read for some pretty amazing people. One of my favorite is for comedy. It was Jerry Cohen, Married with Children. George Lopez. I love that man. He was amazing. But I realized that the best for me to show what I can do, to show my range, is the vulnerability. So you could do the tough guy stuff all day long, but to me to show that because it creates the arc in the film. You want to see the bad guy become good.
Yeah.
And I do that well because I had so much trauma. Those are the roles I like.
What do you think was the best arc in movie history?
Oh, he hit me with that one. That's good.
I'm going to tell you. You're going to be like, I think you're right, Lee. Best arc in movie history.
Which one?
Michael Corleone. How he went from the nice college boy, remember, the army guy. And then when he got punched in the face, and you slowly see him change. And then part 2, he was a demon. Right. Killed his brother Fredo.
We just lost Duvall, too.
Yeah, Duvall.
Yeah. So
best screenplay ever written, man. That movie was awesome. The first one.
As we come to a close, I did have just one last question for you.
Man. So, and thank you so much for not talking about a lot of the. I enjoyed this very much.
I had to coach him. But he's doing a good job.
20 years from now, how do you want people to look back at who is Lillo Brancato?
Lillo Brancato was a guy that was given, the opportunity of a lifetime that he squandered in a very, very big way. But he showed humans and people that no matter how bad you fuck up, you can always come back, and you can always, you know what I mean?
Thank you.
Learn from what the mistakes that you've made. And the best way to come back and the best way to become a different person is teaching people, and not teaching them like I know everything, but teaching people to become the person that you want to become. Because it's easy for you to tell them what to do. And you already know what to do because you're telling them what to do. But sometimes it's like, let me see what happens if he does what I tell him. Oh, yeah, that's pretty good. I'm going to do it too. You get what I'm saying? So it's just but it's like a symbiosis. It's mutually beneficial. And that's what we're supposed to do. We are supposed to mutually benefit each other just through this coexistence, right?
Agreed.
We shouldn't be here to hurt each other. Should be so. Thank you guys.
Your redemption story. This is a huge episode for us. We cannot thank you enough for even being here. Your story inspires people, and it affects other people in a positive way because of the man that you became.
Thank you, brother.
And there's nothing else to possibly add to that. It's an honor. It was so glad I finally get to meet you, even though we grew up so close to each other.
Yeah, Pelham Bay. I can't believe it.
I'm a Pelham Bay guy.
That's where I got in trouble. And that's where the kid from the Bronx Tale, the little kid, he lived. That's how I knew that house, because his sister was my first love.
Yeah. We know
Arnaud Place and Westchester. I mean, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
This is the end of, what episode number is this?
16.
16. So this is the
Sweet
end
16.
of episode number 16. Stay tuned for more. We'll have 17 coming up soon. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only, we're indebted for his presence. It's an honor to have him here again. Once again, the end of episode 16 of Little Victories podcast. We will see you again for episode 17. We love you.
Ciao.
Thank you so much. Ci vediamo.
Thanks for listening. Stay tuned for more wins and more laughs. Follow us at Little Victories Pod on Instagram so you don't miss a thing.